boys and girls, welcome to Ommy'z World, and we are back with Kizzy and Stamps, and we are moving on to December 10th, 1963. Let's listen. It isn't easy, Miss Anderson. First, Miss Mckenna had me learning the history of border collies, and I won't bore you. You would definitely be bored, Miss Anderson. But I'll tell you that border collies are amongst the smartest of dogs, and they have helped people with herding for a long, long time, just like people, you know. There are some who stand out, and one of the most famous is Shaq. He was a border collie who amazed Scotland with his talent, combined with a demeanor that allowed him to work easily for his master. Shaq also has a good attitude, at least for working with me. She doesn't always take to everybody, just not everybody, or everybody that could work against her in a trial, which is what the border collie world has. Yes, it turns out that something like dog shows exist here too. And you could win the big prize of the second place or the fourth, but it's not about how your dog looks, it's about how your dog works. It seems to be the best place for Shag and me. Still, I think the dog may need to take commands from a judge, and Shag is none too happy about taking commands from anyone but Mr. Mckenna or me. I've written a list of commands for you, he announced one day. He held a walking stick, and he had a pink tinge on his face as he shoved the paper into my hand. It's written in the language of sheepdogs and shepherds. You'll need to be of that learning. Learn it by heart. Once you and Shag know them together, you'll truly be a pair, he said. And then he marched towards a distant meadow filled with his woolly white sheep. I looked over the list, Miss Anderson, and I have to tell you, my oddballs clearly jumped out. This is a bunch of nonsense. What does go by mean, or outrun? Mr. Mckenna gripped his walking stick so tight his knuckles turned white as his hair. The language of dogs, the language of Scotland. And I appreciate you saying nothing negative regarding it. He stared straight ahead, his gaze eating up the ground to the meadow. I was trying to keep up. I'll have to admit that it was hard for me to apologize, but apologize I did. I'm sorry, it's just I don't understand. He smiled at me, cracking his demeanor for one split second. We all have things to learn, girlie. You're not alone in that. He cleared his throat and explained as we neared the gate to the meadow. Go by means you want your dog to circle left of the herd and drive them to the right of it. But we need you and Shag to work almost instinctively. But I do say almost, Kizzy Ann, because the border collie has instincts closely tied to the wolves, and sheep killing is an instinct that we never want border collies to experience. It's hard to bring them back once they've been to the edge. A dog like that has no place on a farm, and without good work, your dog is lost. I looked at Shag, her easy glide beside him, her ears perked alert to the sheep, and her fur almost standing on edge. So ready was she to get to work. We spent hours then, Miss Anderson, hours having me recite a command and Mr. Mckenna leading Shag through the action that corresponded. Now, Shag and I are figuring out the basic commands. I know how to send her left and right, and one of the possible ways to get her to bring the sheep in. It's called an outrun. An outrun. Going in either direction, out and around the sheep to get behind the flock. The trick is for Shag not to go straight at them, but to move in an arc so she'll end up behind the sheep. At this point in my learning, I need to try to work with Shag so the flock stays between the handler and the dog. Mr. Mckenna says that doesn't always happen, and he also says the shape of the outrun is one of the things that the judges look in at the trial. But Shag and I aren't ready to worry about none of that yet. Anyway, she gets back there, and at a certain distance, she uses what Mr. Mckenna calls her Eyestalk to get the sheep moving toward the pen. It's kind of hard to explain, but she has to stare them into moving. She controls them with no movement. And Eyestalk is really important, and the sheep's response determines if the dog has a strong or a weak eye. Nothing I do matters here. You won't be surprised, I'm sure, to know that Shag has a strong eye. Your dog is saving you, girl, he said today after Shag got the sheep into the pen. You've learned up to a point, I'll give you that. But then you break down and she has to revert to instincts alone. Not fair to the wee dog, treating her like that. I'm trying. He looked at me up and down, and I was amazed to see his gaze soften. Oh, I know, girl, but you must do better. Think like a dog. Pretend the sheep are yours, or do whatever it takes. But you've got to start improving, or your dog will give up on you, and all is lost. I know that could never happen, Miss Anderson. Never. Shag would never give up on me. Still, I have to work harder. I can't let Shag down. I'm talking about now. I'm not giving up, and I won't let Shag give up. But I think James has. The air is gone out of James. Oh, he's still breathing and all. He goes through his day. He does his chores, but I don't know, it's like there's no life in it. He doesn't tease me. He doesn't get mad when Mama makes him get up early for milking, and heck, he doesn't get mad about anything anymore. The JV team finished up their season, finished first in the state, and he just sort of wilted. I'm living with the ghost of my brother. I never thought I'd want a good punch from him, but I take that James any day over the James who's sliding through life. Wow. Sounds like James is having a difficult time dealing with what happened with him and the JV team and the president's death and them canceling their game. It's unfortunate that James had to suffer this way, but I don't know. I'm not sure how it would have been if any of us lived during that time when something so tragic happened. That a person who was an ally of your community, of your black community, or whatever your community is, was to be murdered. So I feel I feel how upset he is. However, I think I may understand it a little bit more. Okay, friends, well, that is it for this week, and we will be back on Monday for more of Kizzy and Stamps. I'm hoping that you are following along, and I'm hoping that you're making prediction as to what you think will happen next. But thank you so much for stopping by Ommy'z World and for all your homeschool and virtual learning needs. Check out Ommy'z World. We have all kinds of things for you to do. Have a great day, a great weekend. Bye-bye.